This is 6 Minutes, the Seriously International daily newscast. It's Monday, April 7th. I'm Rebecca Bonthius.
And I'm Jacob Shropshire. Aussies in Exmouth are settling down for the evening while Brazilians in São Luís are just getting up for the day. In Tripoli, Libya, and here in the World Crunch newsroom in Paris, it's just after midday. These are the latest headlines. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu lands in Washington as Gaza death tolls rise. Russia launches airstrikes on Kyiv. In our More Than a Minute feature, a French writer uses cinema and literature to try to better understand how the world should respond to Trump's tariffs. And our daily quiz question comes from a contest in North Korea. Our top story is that global stocks are continuing to plummet following last week's announcement of massive new American tariffs. European and Japanese indices slid 6% on opening, and Taiwan's benchmark stock index saw its biggest one-day drop on record. Trump had responded to the market plummets over the weekend by saying that, quote, sometimes you have to take medicine to fix something. For more on the fallout of Trump's tariffs, today's More Than a Minute features an op-ed in Paris-based daily Le Figaro.
To try to understand the US president and understand how the world should respond, French writer Edouard Tétrault enters the topic through a series of literary and cinematic images.
So, Rebecca, it looks like Tétrault starts his piece with a little bit of Shakespeare.
It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
It's tempting to summon Macbeth to describe the first 10 weeks of Donald Trump's second term as US president, Tétrault writes. But as we're talking about America, let's get inspiration from Hollywood instead. It all began like Francis Ford Coppola's sequel to The Godfather, a vengeful president, desperate to be respected at last, threatening to extort money from business leaders, university presidents, congressmen, and even foreign governments in exchange for his protection. But now, with the tariffs, we've gone from The Godfather and Scarface to a detour via Dr. Strangelove.
Beyond the cultural references, what is Tétrault's advice for how the world should deal with such a leader in the White House?
Yes, he concedes that all the madness would be hilarious if it were confined to Hollywood. This is a trade war unlike anything we've seen since the 1930s, with punitive tariffs on everyone, especially allies and the most fragile countries on the planet. 3 things must be done while we wait for the Trumpian madness to be neutralized. First, the French, Europeans, and British must form a united front with all the powers in the world that are not hostile to us. Japan, South Korea, India, Brazil, Southeast Asia, the Middle East, Africa, and Latin America must become our new allies and privileged trading partners. Second, we must strike quickly, hard, and in a very united manner, responding not only with tariffs that are equally punitive, but we also need to remove from our company's supplier lists U.S. investment banks, law firms, consulting firms, and accounting firms. And thirdly, Tétrault concludes, not a single euro of Europe's abundant savings should remain invested in U.S. Treasury bonds or U.S. companies. If European and Asian investors stop buying dollars and withdraw their funds, the dollar will cease to be the global reserve currency. The U.S. stock market will collapse, as will the retirement plans of 160 million Americans. No one will support Trump, Musk, J.D. Vance, and the other sorcerer's apprentices of the global economy.
In other global news headlines, at least 32 people were killed on Sunday and another 13 overnight, including women, children, and journalists, in Israeli airstrikes on Gaza, which the Israeli military says were targeting Hamas militants. The strikes came as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu landed in Washington Sunday night for a series of quickly arranged meetings with Trump and other U.S. officials over at least 2 days. Russia has launched a missile attack on Kyiv, killing at least 1 person. The strike came after a separate assault killed 19 people in the hometown of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. And in the pages of the international press on Monday, Brazilian business daily Jornal de Comércio lends its front page to former Brazil President Jair Bolsonaro's weekend rally. Supporters gathered in Sao Paulo to support an amnesty law that could free Bolsonaro from criminal charges and eliminate the prison sentences of dozens of supporters who stormed the nation's Congress in 2023 to protest the election of his successor, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Sunday's rally happened after the Supreme Court decided that Bolsonaro would face trial for allegedly conspiring to overthrow the government, with the investigators saying he plotted to poison Lula and kill a Supreme Court judge. Bolsonaro had already been barred from running for public office until 2030 by Brazil's top electoral court. We're closing things out today with our daily quiz question, which comes from a contest in Pyongyang. North Korea invited participants from around the world to an event in its capital city that hadn't been held for 6 years. What kind of event was it? Is it A, a ping pong tournament, B, a live cooking contest, C, a marathon, or D, a speed typing race? The correct answer is C. North Korea held the Pyongyang International Marathon for the first time since before the pandemic in 2019. The race welcomed roughly 200 participants from outside of the secluded Asian nation for the event in celebration of the birth of its founding leader, Kim Il-sung.
That's the latest from around the world. If you like this podcast, we'd really appreciate it if you could help us out with a follow, share, and a 5-star rating on your preferred podcasting platform. For more of the best of the international press delivered exclusively in English, visit us at worldcrunch.com. We'll see you here tomorrow. À demain.